New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Ministers Talking a weekly program where Rev Briz and Rev Z and their guests chat about current affairs, world events, spiritual principles, and any old they want to talk about. Based on the New Thought philosophy and ancient wisdoms, Ministers Talking shares a visionary perspective of the evolving spiral called spiritual living. Join us each week as we explore the emerging paradigm of life on planet Earth and beyond.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you over here.
And Michael Benjamin over here.
And this is Ministers Talking Shit for March 14th. It's the Ides of March. Everybody duck. Look out. Here it comes. And I'm joined by my special guest today and dear friend, Reverend Michael Benjamin. Rev Z is off on a family gathering, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. So I'm going to be here with some guests for a couple of weeks. And today it just felt right to bring Mr. Reverend Michael Benjamin in all the way from Utah before he gets out doing some skiing on the mountains today. I'm going to be a little jealous. But Reverend Michael, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's good to be back. And Z, have a great vacation and take vacation whenever you want. Feel free. Just know that I'm always here to chirp in.
And we've been having a fabulous little conversation already this morning, folks. So if we jump ahead and forget a detail that we already talked about, feel free to join the conversation. Leave us a comment. Let us know where you're watching from, and feel free to let us know if we mix something up or forget a detail that we need to go back and chat on, because we've been having a pretty good conversation this morning already. And you've got a really intuitive perspective on all of this, Michael. And I don't want to jump right into that exactly, because I want to kind of set the stage a little bit. It really feels to me that in American politics today, right now, with Americans everywhere already starting to feel the effects of a trade war, and not just the idea of a trade war or the specter of a trade war, but we're in a full-blown hot trade war with Canada at this point. Part of me wants to slip over to the other side of the border and shout this way to get our shit together. And it feels like everybody in the world is afraid of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Including all the Republicans.
Spineless.
And now more and more Democrats. Chuck Schumer has announced that there's no way he's going to let a government shutdown happen, which basically means he's going to vote for this budget bill, whatever it is. And he's going to encourage other Democrats to vote for this budget bill, whatever it is. And all we know,
it's ridiculous. It's like some people can't take the heat.
Some people aren't. Yeah, I don't think there's some people in the Democratic Party that aren't even willing to turn the fire on. Yeah. Aren't even willing to turn on the stove at this point.
Yeah.
But
it does appear that way, Robert. And well, first of all, as a scholar, and I include you in this statement, in spiritual principles and in ancient traditions and the study thereof, at some level, we know that evolution is going to evolve, that on the spiritual side of things, everything's going to be okay. But knowing that, we're going to put that off to the side here. We're going to start slinging some mud here a little bit. it's we need to tool up and be ready, have our hearts wide open, knowing that everything that presents is for us in some way, that we are thrivers and that we will prosper through this adversity that we're going to come. But in reality, most are not prepared for that, and there is going to be a lot of hurt. I, looked at 3 short sale opportunities on real estate, single family homes. My team is ready to go. We're ready on the sideline, ready to start buying things. I haven't seen a short sale opportunity in northern Utah for over a decade.
Wow.
But and I bought 500 of them. And, in the past, from 98 all the way up through 2012, we were doing 3, 4, 5 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And in reality, at one level, I'm salivating. I'm getting ready, right? But
right.
But my heart hurts for the people. The equity strip that's happening right now, the debacle that's going to happen in the small business sector.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We will survive. We will get by. And there are some signs of true progress, actually. Did you catch the exchange that's been going around in the House with Representative Sarah McBride and what was the other guy's name? I forgot.
Yeah, their inability to acknowledge.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. And to misgender and to really kind of argue for that. And the thing I noticed was the New York Times actually printed Sarah's dead name.
Really?
Which is just, in my opinion, absolutely ridiculous. Now, as I went through the headlines and as I followed that story, every other news outlet I saw, not every other, almost every news outlet referred to this experience as a misgendering of Representative Sarah McBride. The only place I've seen somebody, and I wouldn't know her dead name if it wasn't for the New York Times.
Really?
So, like, to me, it pisses me off at the New York Times, but that isn't exactly anything new for me at the moment.
Yeah.
But it also shows me that there is progress being made, because while there are not enough places calling out the New York Times for their behavior here, there are more than enough outlets that are referring to this incident as a misgendering.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he did. Now, whether it was intentional or a mistake, that one's hard to say. It appeared rather intentional to me, and it could have been a mistake. It could be his inability to stay up with the times. It looked and felt a little bit more like a jab, and to Sarah's credit, I did have to love the recognition as Madam Chair that that she sent back to his name. I got to keep finding this guy's name, but there is some progress being made.
Absolutely, and that's where the piece that passes all understanding, from our viewpoint and our heart set in the matter is, well, in the quantum realm, from the 30,000 foot view, there's progress is always being made. The collective field, the kids of today, when I refer to kids, I'm referring to my granddaughters and so forth. There's by and large an acceptance of the equality, if you will, the acceptance of the isness, right? And globally, right? Globally, countries like Finland and Sweden and the UK and so forth, there's a tremendous acceptance for who people are, right? And how we show up in the world. The fact that this white Christian patriarchal move that is literally surfacing right now also still exists today and also still thrives today. So there's a both and here. But in the grand concept, I think the grand scheme of the forward moving evolution, I think that this blip that we're experiencing for this decade or however long this is going to happen is going to come and go.
Yeah.
It is going to come and go. But that doesn't necessarily mean that progress isn't being made on the other, call it the other side. I hate to be so linear, but for the sake of our conversation today, we have to be, right? So
Right.
There really is sides. And in this situation that we're experiencing, but before I get too far down that road, is there anything else that you wanted to bring to the surface?
No, you go for it.
Well,
if it's important, it'll come back up. I'm
yeah,
sure.
I mean, in reality, I've been really clear, getting some clarity on how important it is to realize and to step in. I find this to be an inspirational, energetic for me, and that being that the war, and I don't like the term war. Like, I'm an emissary of love, so
Right.
generally speaking, I don't evoke that word, but I am right now consciously and intentionally bringing it to the surface. The war for human rights in all ways
Mm-hmm.
has never ended, people.
Yeah.
I believe, the hit that I got is that over the last 150 years, really since 1776, and even before that, because in order to get to that time period, there was a war taking place, right? And I think for thousands of years, really, the women's rights, but and slavery, right? So for all intents purposes, for all time, we have literally had a war taking place to have rights beyond the patriarchy, beyond the head of household, beyond he who is the breadwinner, right, the provider, right? Beyond that, there has been a war for equality, for human rights.
Right.
And
Yeah.
in modern times, really modern times, be it the last couple hundred years, there have been battles that have been won, that have gained progress towards, more rights for everybody, for equality, and many in the last 120 years. For women to be whole people, have a bank account, have a job, have their own money, own land, the right to vote. For my son, I have a quad. My son is a quadriplegic. He had surgery, 25 years ago that left him in a wheelchair. When we moved to northern Utah in 2003, I realized that Utah is dead last in spending on people with disability.
Mm-hmm.
That literally the high school campus that we moved to was not adequate for him.
Yes.
So we fast tracked him into the university after about 6 months, because my wife's a fighter. My wife is a champion for human rights. My wife's a champion for our son. My wife was meeting with the school district, the people, the county, everybody on his individualized education program, the IEP, which falls under equality, right? Which falls under diversity, equity, and inclusion, the inclusion aspect of things. My wife is an emissary of, let's talk about these things. And then 6 months into that battle, we realized we don't have time. For our son's sake, time's ticking, right? He's a sophomore in high school already, and it's time. We got to figure out how we're going to get him to chemistry and AP physics and all the classes that he's in. And so we chose to do a concurrent enrollment and take him to Weber State. He went to high school at college. He never once went back to high school campus. And so these issues really ring true for us as a family. Right. But in reality, people, we are in a war, right? We are in a war. On the left, on the side of even our colleagues in the New Thought movement, even our colleagues in
Mm-hmm.
the New Thought movement, we have become complacent. We, as you were saying earlier, the green conversation, I'm listening to Gavin Newsom on his podcast the other day with Steve Bannon, and I was all excited. I'm like, wow, Gavin's going to start a podcast, and he's going to have all these beautiful, or these people that are literally spewing hate and love and prejudice, and he's going to combat this and take it on. And I listened to it, and I threw up in my mouth.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, he's a pacifist. He's like agreeing with everything that Bannon says. He's like, 100%, we're on the same page. We just don't necessarily agree with how to get there. I'm like, oh my God. And I was hoping that this guy is going to be the next choice for the Democratic Party to run for president in 2 years, and I'm not sure he's the guy.
I don't think he is, truthfully. And mostly because I haven't been saying this publicly yet, but I guess we're there today. I think it's time for the rise of a true third party. Democrats aren't Democrats anymore. Republicans are nothing more than Putin's puppets at this point, whether they know it or not, and whether they like it or not, and whether they're going along with it or not, they are.
Yeah.
Their unwavering support of whatever Trump wants is getting nauseating. And Democrats don't seem to be willing to step up, except for a few. And the few that are willing to step up are generally ostracized by their colleagues. Thinking AOC and Ms. Crockett down there in Texas, and Bernie Sanders in Vermont. And there are some voices that are saying, this isn't how it's supposed to work, people. This is not the way it's supposed to happen. This is not how it happens. But the Democrats are becoming centrists, and therefore, from my perspective, there are very few real Democrats left, and they aren't recognized as Democrats, or Democrats don't recognize them.
Yeah. We need to deal with this like in a traditional way. Where are our Republican colleagues? How come there's nobody sitting in these seats? Why are we not legislating these issues? Right. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, everybody's scared shitless, and they're just completely falling into alignment with the chaos of this bull rush that we're experiencing with respect to let's tool up for the stars, meaning let's tool our ship up, right? This Project 2025 move, these forces that are behind it, whom Trump is working for, literally know how to play humanity through the battle of the psyche. They are playing a psychological warfare.
Yeah. And
our friends that are in Washington that you're making reference to, let's call it the 90% of the Democrat Party, are literally playing a yesteryear battle, waiting for legislation that may or may not ever happen.
And right. And Nero fiddled while Rome burned, right?
Yeah.
We've got the U.S. House of Representatives arguing over censure of Lauren Boebert. And don't get me wrong, folks, I'm all about censuring Lauren Boebert. I live in Colorado. But they're arguing over censuring Lauren Boebert because she referred to Al Green's cane as a pimp stick. And which is not about the cane, right? People, we all know this. A black man with a wooden cane is suddenly a pimp stick, right? And none of that should have been going on to begin with if we truly allowed for more free discourse. I remember very clearly Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert heckling and yelling at President Biden during a State of the Union speech. But Al Green raising his cane and saying you're a liar makes him a pimp. And now we're debating, and there's even a debate whether Lauren Boebert should be censored for that or not. Like, we're fighting about all this little petty bullshit.
Yeah.
When the truth is, the fox, Putin, is in the hen house.
Absolutely.
And if we don't back up the hens, if we don't stand with the Ukraine, what stands between the Ukraine and the rest of Europe? This is what I don't get sometimes. I think this is your beloved wife in the chat box here. Human rights, equality, and equity seem not to be valued by so many. And it seems like the same thing is happening on the global scale in Europe, that European leaders are concerned, but for the most part, we're going to go to war with Russia against Ukraine here. How does that make any sense whatsoever, other than to give Putin a free path to the rest of Europe?
Yeah. Yeah, it's that is a tremendous, like, just to acknowledge that for a second, first of all, I'm not accepting that that's going to happen, but whether it happens or not, even just the levity of that is so heavy. The fact that Trump is 3 steps ahead of everybody else in the fact that is where he's at, right? Like, it is very obvious that he is a KGB asset, and that he is literally been on the take from them, that they are, I've heard it even referred to completely opposite. They're like, oh, Trump is in Putin's pockets, and I'm like, no, Putin's in Trump's pockets. I mean, how do you think he's funded all of these towers and stuff, and these plazas and all this stuff that he's been doing? I'm
fully convinced there is a P tape, but it's not what most people think.
What did you say? What?
That the Russians do have a P tape. You've heard the theory of the P tape, yes?
No.
That there's video of Donald, with prostitutes in Russia.
Absolutely.
And there's this enduring rumor of a P tape. And I think most people think it means that there's tape of Donald peeing on a prostitute. And that's the tape he can't let get out into the world.
Sure.
Because that would be too much.
Oh.
I think it's actually probably the other way around.
Yeah. Meaning that he enjoyed getting peed on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the tape that he can't let get out. And because of that,
let it out, President Trump. I mean, my God, this happened. Everything else is out.
And let's be clear, this happened a long time ago. So he's known about this tape for a very, very, very long time, much longer than anybody else has. And he has used that to get tapes on everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, isn't it?
Marco Rubio won't stand up because Trump's got the receipts. Lindsey Graham won't stand up because Trump's got the receipts. None of these guys are standing up to Trump because he's got their receipts. He's got their ticket. He's got something on them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we both agree, and we've seen before our very eyes how seemingly decent, I'll give him probably more credit, but decent, patriotic, well-intended individuals, are marching down paths which are, not necessarily in line with Putin's agenda,
Mhm.
And then, like in the split of Nickety Split, something occurs after hours, overnight, in that person's living room where they completely change their tone, and
Mhm.
they look like deflated puppy dogs, right? And the reality is it's thuggery, dude. It's thuggery. Like these guys have, I mean, there is seemingly little or no limits to what they'll do. Like who's showing up at Marco Rubio's house?
Right.
Like, and in the time we know, like this is not new. This has been going on for millennia. If you can't win it legally and ethically, well then just go into the back alley.
Right.
Where did the Italian mob go? Where did the Jewish mafia go? We all think that they became the Federal Reserve and they became the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is why they're not machine gunning down, clubs in Miami and
Right.
Chicago and New York and Boston. It has been many years since they've machine gunned down a whole block.
There's a meme that goes around. I see it every so often, and it basically equates the fact to saying the KKK didn't go anywhere, just changed its brand.
It's
And we can look and see the same thing, right? Exactly. Where did the Italian mafia go? They just changed their brand. They're still out here. They're still there. Where did that radicalized Jewish, if we want to say it that way, it's a little tight for me, but it's still there somewhere. Where are the radical Muslims? They're still there somewhere, right? Where are the radical Christians? Well, they happen to be on display right now in America. They're not hiding it. They're not trying to hide it. And I think that's part of where well-intentioned, good-meaning folks like ourselves that look towards the vision of a future rather than just trying to tear apart someone else's opportunity. All these white supremacists do is build their fortunes on the backs of others. They're all for having plenty of blacks around when it comes to building their fortunes on their back, right? But give that same person a voice and suddenly he's a pimp stick. We've got to get back to saying, man, you're the KKK under a different brand. But God forbid if you even hint to somebody that they're having racially motivated thoughts or expressing I don't know how to say it, but a sly little racist slogan, and you think it means something else, and you think it's something cute.
We've become too soft. We become too soft in the willingness to talk about these things. Like, oh, don't bring that up. We need to bring it up.
God forbid if we step on the toes of a racist. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, God forbid if we step on the toes of a racist. But man, how many stories have you heard of people that found science of mind and realized their entire life was a lie? Whether that was their sexual identity, whether that was sobriety, whether that was drug use.
Yep.
And it's not that we try to intentionally step on a drug abuser's toes or someone that's in addiction. It's not like we try to step on their toes. We just tell them the truth and they suddenly realize, oh shit. But we're not allowed to do that when it comes to politics. We're not allowed to say, you have a thought, you are following a belief system that injures people. It does not lead to a better world. It does not lead to a world that works for all, that works for everyone.
Yep.
What you're preaching is teaching a world of separation and division. But it's kind of taboo to say that to other folk in New Thought right now. You get labeled all kinds. Trust me, I know.
Yeah,
I can give you the name. I'm not going to, but I could give you the names.
sure. Yeah, I mean, you know, to your point, like I was raised in a traditional quasi-Christian community, being a Catholic, and then you know, obviously ventured over into the fundamentalist churches, the Calvaries and the Four Squares, and the, you know, all the various things that I sampled with through my teenage years and into my, you know, early 20s, only to be more frustrated, knowing that there was an innate gnosis. By the way, you need to take a break?
Oh, we're good.
Okay. Only to be kind of further and further away from my real state, right? Because any you know, the real state of who and what I really am, right? Because this whole tenet of the separation of the spiritual reality, right? So there's this all creating power that has, you know, created you, but then left, and then according to your, you know, their tenet that if you live according to the church law, right, then after this experience you'll be reunited, right? So this whole controlling of humanity through their rules, right? So that you can live, you know, whole again, and you know, for our time and all eternity in the afterlife, right? Is just a complete bunch of BS.
Yes.
Right? Belief systems.
Belief systems. Exactly.
Belief systems.
And if there's anything we know how to change in New Thought, it's belief systems.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, to your point, you know, when I woke up, when I had my awakening in meditation, when I had my awakening with Ernest Holmes, when I had my awakening with my wife and my mom, and you know, my mom was a key player there because she was the one that kind of put her hands on me and said, "It's okay, go down this path. It's okay, Michael. You're not going to burn in hell. You know, you're not going to be struck down by lightning by, you know, having this realization of your real time, inseparable connection to the divine source, which is actually beating your heart right now, which is actually multiplying your blood cells. And it's thickening into form as electrons, protons, and neutrons, which is making up the atoms, which make up the cells, which is literally living itself. And you are connected to the wholeness of the very existence of existence itself in this moment now. And it's not something that you earn. It's something that already is.
Right.
Right. And in this awareness, it's very obvious when others are searching with all their heart and all their soul and all their might. They are searching for fulfillment through the control and the materialism and money as the completion. Yeah. Miserable people. I have a lot of people that I know, that I sit with, that are MAGA, that are, you know, feel righteous in their pursuit of riches. And when they get it, they will be whole. They will be fulfilled. And they're absolutely miserable people. And every time they get another 100 grand or another million, they're still miserable.
Yep.
They're still miserable. Yeah. $700 an hour people convince $25 an hour people that $7 an hour people are the problem.
Yeah. Yep.
There's a psychological warfare going on, people.
We've discussed this on this program more than enough times. There is more than enough money on this planet to give everybody on the planet $1 million. And for those that don't necessarily, quote, need it, okay, good. We'll keep yours and divvy it up among the people that could use it. And everybody on this planet could be living a life of self-sufficiency given a one-time balancing or leveling of the field. Everybody likes to talk about a level field. It ain't a level field out there, folks, but we could level that field. There are more than enough houses, empty houses, empty and habitable houses in this country, in the United States, that we could give everybody on the streets a house, a place to live. Okay, maybe it's just an apartment. Maybe it's not a 3,000 square foot house. Maybe it's only an 800 square foot house, but we could give every person in this country a house, and we could ensure that everybody in this country has food on their plate. That, I believe, would make America great again. That, I believe, would make America strong in the eyes of the world. But right now, we happen to look like a bunch of money grubbing, overweight, Slavish.
Who was it that said we got to get our bloated no-thingness out of the way?
Emerson. Yes.
And it's like, come on, we gotta get lean, and we gotta get, vigilant to stand guard at the doorway of our minds. We have to literally meditate and commune in nature. When you were saying there's plenty of money to go around, I'm saying there's plenty of God to go around. There's plenty of spiritual source to source all of humanity. It's already doing it.
Yep.
We just need to get out of the way and allow it to happen. And with respect to our friends and our neighbors that, and even my business partners, even my brother, it's like, my golly, the other day I listened to him sit here and preach Christianity to me. And, I'm in my pacifist way saying, yes, he's talking about the teachings of Jesus. And yes, I can agree with this. I can see that it's in the spiritual law of creation in which we live and move and have our being. But he doesn't necessarily mean that.
Right.
He means that we have to accept the Jesus in the afterlife, or whatever it is that, it's been 30 years since I've sort of emoted in what he's saying.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm okay realizing real time right now that there is an infinite source. And not only is there an infinite source, but that means all of the materialism things that are happening today, all of the things that show up in societal plate, all the foreclosures that are getting ready to happen are for us. Meaning, seek and you shall find, knock and the doors will be open. We have the opportunity to thrive and prosper in 2025, regardless of what happens in Washington or in Kyiv or in Moscow or in Europe. There is going to be thrival. And I encourage you, my friends, I encourage you, Robert, I encourage everybody to tune into the Interverse and to seek the opportunity and know that the prayer and the answer are one, that it's yours now. No person, place, or condition is the source of your supply. Trump does not have the power to ruin your day unless you allow it to.
Unless you allow it. Exactly.
Unless you allow it to.
Exactly. Yep. There is you were in as you were sharing there, and thank you, that was gorgeous. As you were sharing there was a piece that jumped into my head that said, just don't get in the way. It's okay to get yours. It's okay for you to focus on what you need for your life to feel complete and healthy and wealthy and wise and all those things. But just don't get in the way of others.
Precisely. Gandhi, right? How do you change the world? It starts at home.
Starts at home. Yeah.
It starts with you. Because if you are realizing wholeness in the now moment, if you are realizing your innate divine birthright, wholeness already is.
Yeah.
You are already whole. You don't even have to earn your way to it. You just need to realize it by seeing it with your real eyes and bringing it into time. And if you do that, you will not be screaming about what Trump just said or what you think might be happening somewhere else.
Right.
You will be helping your children, your grandchildren, and your next door neighbor by starting a meditation circle, by having a realization of wholeness on your block at your home. You will be a beacon of wholeness into time. And as you do that, you are actually saving the world, if you will. Right? How? Because in the quantum realm of wholeness, you will be beating the light of wholeness into time. And you won't participate in the chaos.
Mm-hmm. There it is, folks. Use your real eyes to realize how vital you are to this whole thing called life. Reverend Michael, thank you so much for being here with me this morning.
I love you all.
I would invite you back. I would invite you back again, but I know you're going to show up one way or whether I invite you. I'm saying that wrong, but
yeah.
We do want you to come back, and we know that you're going to come back, and we know that you're part of the New Thought Media Network family, and for me, that is great because it means we get to hang out together and we get to connect together on these issues and all kinds of things. So,
yes, folks,
if you'd like to learn a bit more about Reverend Michael and what he does in the world, just reach out. Send us a quick email and info@ntmedia.org, and we'll get you connected with Reverend Michael.
Yeah, we're also right through the Satya Center for Spiritual Living here in Northern Utah, Ogden, Utah. Find our website, satya.org. Yep.
I did not have those links up, so I'll make sure I have those for next time. So,
no problem.
Folks, we do need to get out of here. Let the rest of the world continue to do what it does on a Friday morning here on New Thought Media Network. That means that coming up in just a few minutes is our good friend Sekou Wrights and his program, Get Rich 101. The morning prayers are at 8:15. And keep an eye on the morning prayers. Our team is expanding. We've got someone new coming next week. And our dear Reverend Gina is back on morning prayers as well. So check those out. 8:30 is Rev Melissa with the Morning Sip. 9 o'clock, Spanish language programming with Emma Moreno. And 9:30, our Spanish language prayer program. Join all of that. 11 o'clock, it's the High Vibe Hour with Rev Skip and Rev Cynthia Breeze. Just One You with Reverend Barbara Jean is at 1 o'clock. I'm on at 5 with the good news. And Reverend Michael with the Fireside Chat at 6. It's a full day of broadcasting here on the New Thought Media Network. We so appreciate that you're a part of what we're doing. So, until next time, we're going to wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
And thanks for listening to this week's episode of Ministers Talking. We'll be back again next week with more commentary on current affairs, world events, and any other our ministers want to talk about. And if you found value here, please share our with your friends. Until next time, peace and blessings.